We saw a car with an airbag exploded with blood splattered all over it. Then, in the following hours, we learned from DHS and from Mayor Fry that a 37-year-old woman, now identified as Renee Good, was shot and killed. We also saw DHS, ICE officers, Border Patrol officers leaving the scene and getting into heated confrontations with protesters. Tear gas to fill the air. We saw many, many protesters down on the ground in the snow crying after being tear gassed. Then we saw a division. We saw protesters who were angry, tensions were high, following the law enforcement officers around town. And we also saw the community band together here, laying flowers in a vigil, praying, singing choir songs as this community bands together in this moment. It's important to note, guys, that we are about 0.4 miles, less than half a mile from where George Floyd was killed just a few years ago. And of course, those emotions are still raw. The emotions here are so raw ever since this immigration crackdown started about a month ago. And what we've seen in the most recent hours is a huge gathering of the Minneapolis-St. Paul community. Thousands of people. I want to show you what is going on in there, but I can't because there are so many people that our coverage, our satellite coverage, would die out because of how many cell phones are in this area. So it's obviously still a developing story. You have DHS and Kristi Noem telling one side. You have Mayor Fry and Governor Walz basically denying their assertion that this is an act of self-defense and calling it a garbage narrative, a BS narrative, as you just heard. So we still have so much to learn, but what we definitely do know is that 37-year-old Renee Good is now dead and was shot and killed by a federal immigration agent.
And Alex, I know that you were not able to show us the images of where you are now, but we do have them for our viewers at home. You can see just the sheer number of people showing up and showing out in Minneapolis. MS Now's Alex Tabbitt in Minneapolis for us. Thank you and be safe. Let's bring in Andrea Flores, former DHS and White House official, founder of America's Promise, and MS Now national security and intelligence analyst, Rob D'Amico. He is a former FBI supervisor.
Rob, we've now, and we played the video in the open for our audience, a very jarring video, and I know folks have seen it on social media today, if they've been on social media, and other news organizations have also played the video. The video, again, we don't know what transpired prior to the video. I am wondering if the agents, I don't know if they were actually ICE agents, but they were federal agents, if the agents had body-worn cameras on. And if they did, were those cameras on, and is DHS willing to release that video to the public? Because the secretary is making claims of domestic terrorism. But I want to bring your attention to some witness reaction. This is someone, a layperson who was just in the neighborhood, but he says, from what he saw, this is not how to do it. Take a listen.
Around 8:30 this morning, I was just getting up and I heard a bunch of commotion and whistling outside, and then I heard bang, 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 3 shots. I'm pretty right-leaning, but seeing this is not what you need to do. This is not how to do it. It's not how we're supposed to do things around here in America.
Rob?
Yeah, I just, in looking at the video, and there's a few of them out there, there's a few angles, and each angle looks a bit different. The one that we saw was the video you showed. I took it and I put it in slow motion, or someone put it in slow motion. And when you look at it, blocking the road, and then an ICE officer goes to approach to get in, says, you know, that he wants to detain her for blocking the road. At that point, she starts to pull forward. ICE agent on the side is still trying to get in the vehicle. And then an agent from the vehicle, like it looks like the one that was parked in the front, has come around the front. He's the one who ends up shooting. And when you slow it down, he's actually not directly in front of the vehicle. He's actually kind of off to the side, quarter panel. And then the second shot, he is absolutely at the side with his arm extended out. And there's no You don't see any bullet hole on the glass because her window was rolled down. That's where you see the ICE officer in. Personally, and you have to be careful when you're second guessing law enforcement when they're doing things. But I have been in front of a vehicle that was trying to get away at one point, and I got in front of it, and my supervisor grabbed me after and said, "Look, don't put yourself in a situation where you have to use deadly force where it wasn't really needed to begin with." It was a lesson learned. Like, unless you're blocking a vehicle with a car, do not get in front of a vehicle. But even at that, when you're looking at it, the second shot, I think, was well out of what I would consider use of deadly force. Totally to the side, his arms extended, and he fires that second shot. And I think that's what the investigation is going to have to look at. Which bullet that he shot, which one was the fatal one? Because if the first one missed and he took the second one and he's clear of the vehicle and there's no other agent in the front, I think it's hard to justify deadly force at that point. And I don't think, I mean, it's going to be hard to get intent, but it really looked like she was just trying to get away from him. And in the FBI, we had different rules for a fleeing felon. Like, there was different rules of engagement. Unless that person had, like, in my own mind, if that person had just murdered someone, was trying to get away, I would probably then say, I think deadly force was justified. It was a violent act that you knew happened, that you saw, and that you were trying to then, public safety, if they ever got away, that they could do it again. So I think the statements, though, now that have been made, especially with Secretary Noem, she talked about digging out of the snow. If you look at the video, the road's clear. So obviously she's saying things that aren't even like accurate at all, and just the circumstances there. And I think it makes them look bad. You just want to say, look, we're looking into this. We're going to do an investigation. We're going to get to the bottom of it. But the fact that she's already cleared that person, it takes weeks, if not months, to get cleared in an FBI investigation for shooters, for doing that. And the FBI has allowed FBI agents to actually stand in state and local courts to get tried. A friend of mine, he was found innocent, but because of everything that was happening, they actually allowed him to be tried in a state court, and it came out the truth. And I think that gave it more credibility than if they just bring this up to the federal courts and dismiss it.
There was a lot there that was so important, Andrea, that Rob just touched on. And I watched this today many, many times, and a number of things have struck me, both my mind and heart at the same time. And Rob touched on a few of them. One, he was talking about his real life experience. When he put himself in front of a car and his supervisor said, no, that's not how you do it. That speaks to training. That speaks to supervision. Rules of engagement. We've heard on our air throughout the day, professionals, law enforcement professionals say this is not how you engage someone in a public space in a moment like that. All of this speaks to a very severe lack of training. Men who have masks on their face, who have their names and badges covered up, acting with impunity at the direction of the Secretary of Homeland Security, the President of the United States. You have been in this space. You know it well. The definition, I want to play real quick, because this is the gaslighting part of all of this that I think Americans need to understand. This is what Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem had to say about this event.
We've seen over 100 of these vehicle rammings happen in just recent weeks, and this must stop. ICE alone is facing a 1,300% increase in assaults against them and an 8,000% increase in death threats against all of them. In fact, the very same officer who was attacked today had previously been dragged by an anti-ICE rioter who had rammed him with a car and drug him back in June.
He would later go on and describe this as an act of domestic terrorism. How do you respond to this?
So, first of all, a U.S. citizen was murdered today, and we don't know the facts. And we don't know the facts because the Department of Homeland Security and the government is jumping to the most extreme accusation that this woman was a domestic terrorist. We don't know if she was protesting. We don't know if she was simply trying to move out of the area. I do not know what type of officers were on the ground. I do not know whether she could see their badge or what she knew of them. What I do see as a former DHS official is heavily armed men in a neighborhood. When I looked at their weapons, when I saw the sort of theater of what they were bringing into this community, you could just see the fear. And I believe that everyone who was there was probably deeply traumatized by this incident, by this loss of life. But as a former DHS official, ICE does have a mission. It is supposed to keep Americans safe. But what I am seeing from these operations, there is an announcement, a political announcement that they were going into Minneapolis. They tweeted, well, good morning, Minneapolis. And that is targeting a city for no purpose other than to do a show of force. And when you do a show of force and you have too many officers in one area without a specific target, you're going to have chaos. And you're going to have loss of life. This is the thing I have feared all year, is that people, bystanders, innocent people, are just trying to navigate and get out of the space of this theater. And so this is not how law enforcement is done. And I hear Secretary Noem, if she is worried about ICE officers' safety, she will rein this in. She will go back to how you normally do law enforcement.